are bringing facts back into fashion. We are making simple sanity sexy again. And we are marginalizing crazies of all stripes and sending them back into the shadows where they belong. And always remember, we're not crazy, you are. Hello, and thank you for joining this episode of Radically Rational. I'm Paulalexander. I'm in Port Aransas, Texas. And the first thing you'll notice is among the stores, businesses that are closed in Texas right now are barber shops. So I'm going to have to let a freak flag fly right now. And my wonderful Radically Rational partner, Lauri Pearson, is in Austin, Texas. It's good to see you. You know what? You said a couple of really fun things to me this week, and that's two, Lauri. So I would say you are having a very good week. So we're going to open the show with one of the profound things that you did this week, and in an hour from now or so, we'll close it with another one. But you said that the biggest we all have to figure out right now is what to worry about, in what sequence to worry about it, and what not to worry about. Now, that may sound like a duh to somebody, but I think it's absolutely profound. So how are you doing with that? Is that working out right now? What are you worried about? What are you not worried about?
There is an abundance of things to worry about when you are an overthinker, such as myself. And there's no shortage of information and sources of information you can stress out about or freak out about, depending on how you feel at that in a particular time. So what I've decided is I've narrowed down my information sources, really narrowed it down to a few choice, mostly scientific, factual based. And then I'll pick one thing that I can worry about until science or math comes out about it, and then I feel better. Right now, it's the possibility of the virus laying dormant in your body until another time, and then it comes back out again, like herpes. Like that's my most recent freak out. So I'm waiting for the science to come out on that. And until then, I'll put it aside. I'll put all my worries on that one little thing. And when that's resolved or explained, I'll feel better and move on to something else. Because otherwise, you can just fold with the amount of things to worry about. Are the bottoms of my shoes clean? Did I spray enough of my surfaces? How did I touch my mask with my hands? How dirty is this? It's too much. That's all.
That's really interesting, and I won't belabor this, but I saw a really fascinating study this morning. And apparently, since the onset of the coronavirus crisis, Americans at an accelerated rate are now abandoning purely political, partisan information and news sources and are coming back to more traditional sources. And again, I won't belabor it. It's interesting. When things are going good, self is a luxury. But in a situation like this, people are going to return to facts. And I, for one, find that very encouraging.
Yeah. When you have questions and you get placated, that only lasts so long. When the questions are bigger than your little puny, patronizing answers that you sometimes get from politicized news sites, you want science, you want math, but that's it. You get down to you need facts, and opinion doesn't cut it anymore. So I think thank goodness we're getting to that place.
We're Radically Rational, and today's episode has a theme, and it is Homosapiens fights back as a species. So we have deliberately done this show to hopefully be uplifting, to give you some good news, to let you know that all is not lost, and there are some good things happening out there. There's no question about that. Lauri, I'll just say this is just great. Who knew that one day the statement, "get the F away from me," would someday be seen as being socially responsible? It turns out I've been socially responsible for 6 decades now.
That. Yeah, but you were saying earlier, not to put a damper on your point, but you were saying you were going to have to give up handshakes, because handshakes are about as far as you go. You're not a hugger, as a coach, there's only so much of that that's cool. So you can't pat people on the butt anymore. So what are you going to do? What's going to be your next greeting?
I think my next thing is a very simple and respectful bow. I've always kind of liked that, and I'm good. And there are some things that I'm going to give up, and we'll talk about it later. A handshake is one. I think that's a pretty simple thing to give up. And also, as much as I love fitness and sweating and all that kind of thing, I will never step foot in a gym again for the rest of my life. We're going to handle it on an individual basis, and I'll let you know about that at all. Just real quickly, let's just state this, and I don't think it's productive at all to blame any one entity or any one person, because the chain has broken every link. But Lauri, the one thing I think we should all agree on is that there is no excuse, zero alibi, zero rationalization for the fact that the United States of America beats every nation in the world. Virus deaths simply should not have happened.
Wait, there was a little glitch. You said the United States of America does what with every nation?
Well, it leads the nations of the globe in coronavirus deaths.
Yes, that's embarrassing.
Just unfathomable. That cannot happen.
We are not a third world country. We are supposed to have top-notch everything. We are supposed to have access to all the things that should protect us and communicate amongst each other to keep those types of things from happening.
Yeah.
Yet,
let me just say real quickly that people always ask me about, positive and negative stories. And they ask me that as somebody that's been involved in journalism and the media for a long time. I will tell you straight up that I don't view information as positive and negative. I view it as true and false. And true is positive even when it's something we don't want to hear, and false is negative even when it's something we falsely want to believe. So again, I just don't divide things into positive and negative. I will say that in a way I have never felt more isolated from people, but in another way I have never been more connected with humanity. And maybe that's the kind of thing that we're going to take from this. I do want to say something briefly on one subject, and again, we'll move on. This episode, none of our episodes is about bashing anybody, but the president in recent days has been very inconsistent in his view of our Constitution. As we record this, it was only 48 hours ago that he did not have the authority to close the nation down, and he was going to defer to the nation's governors. Okay, I understand that constitutional view, but then 48 hours later, he says that he unilaterally has the right to reopen the country and that his power is unlimited. Lauri, I really mean this. All I ever ask for is a little consistency and for people to get their story straight.
Well, yeah, you're asking a bit too much. The story might be straight, it just changes every day. How about that?
Well, but one's basic view of the Constitution should not change on a daily basis, depending on what is expedient at the moment. So seldom have I seen rational and irrational walking so close together. The rational part of this, we now know conclusively that social distancing works, and it actually works spectacularly when practiced properly. So we've done a job of bringing these projections down. But as soon as we do that, we hear people talking about loosening restrictions on social distancing. It's almost like we didn't learn anything. You made my football background. It's like a football coach saying, we've got a really great play that we run all the time, and we make all kind of yards on it, and we scored all kind of points on it. It's the best play in our playbook, so you know what? Let's stop running it. In fact, let's just rip it out of our playbook. It's absolute insanity. If we come back too soon, not only are we going to wipe out all the gains that we have achieved, we're going to be right back in the same situation, only probably worse on the rebound.
Well, we are a quick fix society, and we like to also think that what we did just worked, and so let's move on. It's just part of where we are socially and emotionally in general, right? So again, that's something that we have to wait for the science to catch up with us. We always want to be ahead of it. We just want to, okay, we did that. Now can we go on with life? And, as you pointed out, life's going to look different even when we do finally get to going on with it. But yeah, people want to start off early, getting back into it.
Well, I think one of the things that's stressful here is there is no finite finish line. And as others have said, the virus kind of makes the timetable here. So we promised you that this was going to be an uplifting episode because we all need this right now. So I'd like to welcome to the program clinical psychologist, Dr. Will Ajayi, who joins us from a clinic in Ohio. And Will, I had the pleasure of kind of pre-interviewing you a couple of days ago because I so much enjoyed talking to you. And you said something that really fired me up. You said that you treat a lot of patients with a lot of chronic problems who've been through some very, very difficult times. And that if you can believe this, paradoxically, many of them are finding strength right now they didn't know they had. And one of the things is they feel that they can now help others. And that is really empowering for them. So thank you so much for joining us, and kind of riff on that for a second, because I think we all think that's great news.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me in the first place. And it's a pleasure to be here with you both, Lauri and Paul. And I'm certainly happy to kind of, you said riff, so I'm certainly happy to riff on what we talked about earlier. Yeah, one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of patients who have a significant amount of difficulties that they've been struggling with for a really long time, in this moment are finding that this sense of resiliency and this sort of empowerment that, okay, now it's my turn to kind of help people who are new to this pain that's very familiar to me. I know how to navigate this. I know what to expect. I know how low the depths can get. And I also know what needs to happen to start pulling myself out of that space. So it's an opportunity for them to share some of that knowledge that they have that unfortunately they've learned over the years with their neighbors, with their friends, with their children, with their family. And it's giving a lot of people a sense of purpose and pride again for something that's been so heavily stigmatized, in our society.
Right.
So it's been pretty amazing to witness that and to bear witness to it, and then to watch how people are seeing their value in their suffering and being able to do something positive with it.
Dr. Ajayi, not only in your practice, but in your personal life, we're all struggling with this, but the people who seem to be handling it relatively well, what traits do they share in common?
Sure, that's a great question. I think, and I can certainly speak professionally and personally. I use that word resilience, and I think that's a word we throw around a lot, but we don't really necessarily have a good, firm definition of what that is. But I use that word for a reason because, most of us have been through something or a series of events that have challenged either our worldview or our perception of ourselves or our family dynamic. There's something that happens at some point, and there's a decision we have to make. Are we going to sort of be crushed by this thing that's happened, or do we kind of pull those resources back together to build ourselves back up? And so I think that's what I think about when I think about resilience, is working through something, even though it's difficult, using the skill set that we have and learning new skills to be able to work through, adversity. So I think resilience is definitely a characteristic that stands out for folks who are able to kind of take this in stride, remain grounded, and move forward. But I also think there's a level of conscientiousness, which is, caring about the other person next to you, whether it's your friend or your neighbor or your family member, which can be challenging at times when you're cooped up in the house together. But having a sense of conscientiousness and compassion for someone else, so we're all going through this experience together. Some of us have the resources to deal with this maybe more effectively than others. But having that sense of compassion and caring that, okay, this person is in this space because of the circumstance, it doesn't make them a terrible person. They're just in pain. And being able to kind of see that is a characteristic I think is really important.
This is really interesting to me because aside from the fact that they speak in really different octaves, Dr. Will Ajayi sounds an awful lot like Lauri Pearson. I'm sure you've got some questions here.
Well, I always have questions regarding how psychology and the brain and emotions and even the chemistry of it all works. You're talking about basically trauma, and there's a point in an individual's life, and I know probably every single one of us has been at that point in their lives where they realize they have a choice, right? You have a choice. You can get up off the mat, or you can lay there, and it's just a matter of time before you find what you have to find it within you to get up and get out and start fighting again. But what is that turning point? And I ask because, and I'm not saying everybody's living in la la land and they're in for a big wake up call, but when when this thing crests and the emotional effects of what everybody's been through, the isolation and the coping factors and the trauma and the drama that's gone on in their own households, some are may not even be willing to admit that it's gone on in their households or in their hearts or in their minds. What is the turning point to say, I need to talk to somebody? I'm not in a healthy spot. Now that the situation is over, those feelings are still there. And the facts that arose from me being stuck in a house with someone I don't really like, or you know what, I do have a short temper. And when I have to be around my kids 24/7, I snap and I don't want to do that. And I still have those feelings. Like, what's the turning point, or how do you know, what do you recognize? What are the stopping points along the way so that you can catch yourself and or get help, or how do you know what I'm trying to say?
Sure,
It's a
sure.
wake-up call that's coming for all of us collectively and individually, I think.
I think that's just an amazing question, to which I will definitely attempt to answer all the points that
It's a
you
lot of
raised.
questions in one, really.
But there are about 16 points there.
They're all good.
All right.
And they're all excellent. No, I mean, to your point, a few things are happening. You know, I think we're all collectively experiencing a trauma right now, you
Yeah.
know, and the nature of this, I mean, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of apprehension, there's a lot of physical and emotional and psychological pain, not to mention the death toll, which is significant.
Oh, God.
And the fear of that. So collectively, I think as a society, as a globe, as a people, we're all struggling with this pain. And generally speaking, when it comes to traumatic experiences, which can be different, it can range from any kind of abuse, natural disaster, the nature of a trauma can range from anything. But talking about that crest you were mentioning is that when this ends, hopefully, which will be soon, if I notice that my anger, those symptoms of anger, or that fear, that anxiety, which is normative in this moment, if it persists for a month, 2 months, that's when we start to recognize, okay, this is manifesting in a different way. This is turning into something a little bit more serious that is likely going to need some clinical intervention. Typically,
Right.
if you have the symptoms that we're experiencing now, these are normative reactions: anger, frustration, lack of sleep, a lot of fear, and a lot of anxiety is a normative reaction to the uncertainty of the world we're in right now in this moment. If those symptoms persist for a month or two, then we're kind of shifting into another space. And there are a lot of reasons why that happens in terms of some neurocognitive changes that can happen. And having cortisol, which is a stress hormone in your body constantly, it's going to do some significant damage essentially to your body and to your mind, how you process emotions. So there's some sort of neurobiological reasons to think about. But overall, I definitely agree. I think, collectively, we're going through a traumatic experience right now. And the buffer against this from having something like this turn into something like PTSD or another trauma related reaction is those coping resources, is having a way to kind of discuss our deep, dark concerns with people that we trust, is being able to feel like we're not in this space by ourselves, we're not alone in this, and recognizing that there's support there, even though it looks and feels differently today than it did, say a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Our guest is Dr. Will Ajayi, a clinical psychologist who joins us from his practice in Ohio. Will, I'm so grateful for your time. And as kind of my final question right now, we're all looking forward to getting back to quote unquote normal. But I think if you think your way through this, you realize it is going to be a brand new normal. And what I am trying to tell myself, and it's difficult because I'm an old guy, is, Paul, the new normal is going to be different, and you're going to have to be adaptable, and you're going to have to change, because the key to getting through this with your spirit and your mental health intact is going to be your willingness to change. What do you think?
Right. I completely agree. I think I've heard this term a lot lately, and I've said it several times, I think today, about the notion of the new normal. And what is that? What's that going to look like? Because we all, what do we seek when we help soothe ourselves, or we're looking for something that's coping? We give our children or grandchildren, stuffed animals, and it's a way for them to cope. It's familiar. They know the smell. They know everything about it, even if it smells like urine. They know it and they love it, and that's what's comfortable and familiar. And so as adults, we're looking for the same thing. We're looking for, okay, when is this over? How can I get back to what life was for me? Because that was predictable and comfortable. the reality is it's not possible to go back to that. But I
Right.
don't view that as a bad thing necessarily. I think because what I've noticed is some people are being more conscientious and more compassionate than they typically would be. Some people are recognizing that anxiety is a real problem for people because this is their first time experiencing it in a significant way. And so it does open, the heart a little bit in terms of being able to be more empathetic and compassionate and understand someone else's perspective. One of the things I'm thinking about to really answer this question is, we all of a sudden have a toilet paper epidemic, right?
Right.
Or excuse me, not epidemic, a shortage of toilet paper. There's nothing wrong with the production of toilet paper. It's still widely available. It's still being produced, but we have this shortage. And we have this shortage because one person grabbed a pallet full of TP and then the rest of us thought we all need that. We don't want to be left without.
Right.
And it shows you, on the face, we can look at that person and think, what a jerk. They took something that the rest of us need. Compassion and empathy dictates, let me stop for a moment, step into this person's shoes just for a moment. I don't have to agree with them and understand what they were thinking when they did this. And what I'm noticing is a lot of people are slowing down and asking themselves, maybe I would do the same thing if I were in that position, and trying to understand someone else's perspective. So I don't think we can go back to, normal as it used to be, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that there are things we can take from this: resiliency, compassion, empathy, connection, socially distant, right? Physically distant, but socially connected is not a bad thing. So there are ways to move forward, I think, with some positivity and some kindness for the people around us.
No,
I
that's
think
true.
we're all seeing that in our own lives right now, and examples of that. And Dr. Willage, it's been an absolute delight. We are so glad you were able to join us here on Radically Rational. We hope you will be a frequent guest because we have all really benefited from this. So stay well, my friend, and let's talk soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And since I can't shake your hands, I'll just do a quick bow, given that
very respectful bow, for sure. Dr. Jai, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care. Nice to meet you all. Nice to meet you, Lauri.
Likewise. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Our pleasure.
Bye.
Well, we promised you that this episode was about Homo sapiens fight back as species. So we got some uplifting stories here, and I want to move to one in particular right now because this gentleman has stayed up until the middle of the night to join us. This is a global pandemic. We've got hotspots all over the world. One of the hottest has been Spain, Madrid in particular, and we're joined right now by American businessman and entrepreneur Mark Landis, who lives in Madrid and has been in the middle of this. Mark, first of all, thank you so much for making time. But number one, what are you and your family doing to stay well in this crucible? And then I want to ask you that as an American, what are you perceiving about what is going on in America right now, and how are people in Spain perceiving?
Well, thanks for having me, Paul. First off, I'll say that what we're doing here is drinking a lot more wine than normal. We do that anyway, but no.
Good for the blood.
We've been in complete lockdown here in Madrid for a month now, and I do mean lockdown. And that's the thing, when I watch my Facebook feed and I see, that's how I see what's going on in the U.S. and I see how people are supposed to be locked down. And then I see my friends posting pictures that they're out at dinners at restaurants, or they're out at parks with their family and friends, and they're doing a variety of things. And I'm like, that's not locked down.
Right.
And I don't see how they're getting away with that. Madrid here has had it really bad, and they really messed up. And I try to tell everybody, the thing that the U.S. should really take hold of here in watching the Madrid or Spain example is that they messed up in the beginning. That when they saw this coming, they let a couple of things go forward they should not have let go forward. Like the International Women's Day March, hundreds of thousands of people marching in the streets together. It was stupid to have that and let that happen. They had a big giant soccer game go on. They had a variety of events like that before they finally shut everything down. But when they shut it down, they shut us down. So we can go out of our building and I can walk the puppies about 25 steps from the door. I can't go to the park that's at the end of the corner. It's shut down. I can go to the grocery store or any one of the little small markets here that are within a block or so. But my wife got stopped by the police for being 4 blocks from the house, and they asked, why didn't she go to the closer grocery store? They talked to her for like 10 minutes going through everything. And they take it very serious here. So I see all these people talk about, oh, people are in church and they're violating this and that. And I'm like, the Spain model, that would never happen, because what they do is if they catch you once, like what they've been doing is, if you're a couple, you can't go to the grocery store together. It's one or the other. And couples are going together secretly. Well, the cops were stopping them here and they're fining them $600 a piece.
Wow.
Right. That's your first warning. This is the next thing I say that they do. The other difference is that I see people say, oh, well, they're still going to church. Not going to happen in Spain. You get your one warning with your fine. The next time they come, if you want to fight with them, they will beat your ass and take you to jail, period. They ain't playing around here. So the cops will beat you up and they will take you to jail. They're not messing around. So, you know, I was saying to somebody today, I said, you know, oh, well, we have to go to church. Jesus can hear you anywhere you talk to him. You don't need to be in a building. So,
Yes, indeed.
So you don't need that. So the biggest thing that we take away from this is that I see the dismay, the shock, the people not believing it, or trying to say, oh, it's just like the flu. Ridiculous. One of my friends in New York posted, said, yeah, my friends that are saying it's just like the flu because it killed this many people. Yeah, in a year, it killed that in 3 days in New York. So that's the thing that people aren't understanding, is how scary this is. And there have been people that are like pops in their mid-20s and early 30s die already here because of this, and first responders. It's just insane.
Mark, let me ask you, I know you to be a proud American. And when you realize that the United States of America leads every nation on earth in coronavirus deaths, I can tell you my reaction is, I'm not looking for a scapegoat. I'm not looking for an individual to blame, but I am saying collectively that is completely unacceptable. Your reaction?
Absolutely unacceptable, because, you know, they've been saying this since January. You know, Navarro had a paper, he warned them that this was going to happen. The military intelligence agencies warned them that this could happen. And instead of us trying to get prepared, you know, Trump was too busy trying to look like he wasn't losing control or whatever he was trying to do, or more worried about the stock market or this, that, or the other. You know, I'm a business person. I have businesses. You know, I have international cosmetic companies. All the stores we're sold in are shut down right now. I get it. Our warehouses in New York are shut down. Our facilities in Los Angeles are shut down. Same in Portland. Texas, our little bitty satellite office working out of a home in Texas is the only thing we literally have left right now. But our first priority was, oh my God, we're going to lose all this money. It was, how do we keep people safe and not die? Because we're thinking about long term, and we want our people and employees to be safe and their families to be safe, which is a lot more important if you're thinking long term about the viability of a company and about the viability of a nation. It's not the time to act like, you know, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And that's the problem, I think, with Trump. He always pretends he is. One of the things I've always been very proud that I've done through my whole career is I've always hired really smart people that are much smarter than me to surround myself with. And I'll take their advice, because you hire smart people and let them do their job.
Or you fire them when they say something you don't like. That's another tactic.
Ridiculous.
I know.
Mark, let me ask you, aside from the aforementioned wine, which is always a good idea, what are you doing to stay happy?
To stay happy? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we make the joke that for my wife and I, we work out of our house anyway. So other than us not being able to go out, it's pretty much the same thing we always do, because we work out of the house all the time. But we kind of got into a routine to help our sanity and to help our well-being. So we make sure that every day we work out, like a hard 1 hour workout that we do, my wife and I do, and we really go hard at that every day to try to do that. Before the inevitable bottles of wine and vermouth get crashed, because that's gonna happen. But that happens every day in Spain. We just try to push that off till later. But our lifestyle is different here because, like you said, for you, it's middle of the day, and if this was a normal working day, we would have people calling us and emailing us, and which they are doing. They're emailing my wife right now about different things. But for us, we're 7 hours ahead of you, 9 hours ahead of Los Angeles. So we're already, you know, we end up working really late at night, and then we have all morning while everybody's still asleep in the States to kind of get ahead a little bit and get some things done.
Mark, we are indebted to you for a number of reasons, not the least of which is we have destroyed your sleep cycle, your circadian rhythm. So thank you for hanging in there. It's just such a pleasure to speak with you. Again, thank you. And Mark, more than anything else, stay safe.
Yes.
Thank you. We will, and you guys do too. And please, I hope everybody takes heed. Our lockdown is supposed to be over on the 26th. Our peak has happened. So far, so good. And we're watching it. It doesn't mean when they open up the lockdown that we're all racing out to the bars, but we're going to cautiously, optimistically start venturing back into our normal everyday life of being in Madrid.
It is an incremental process. And Mark, thank you again.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too, who has joined us from Madrid, which is still obviously one of the COVID-19 hotspots around the globe. So, Lauri, inspiration's where you find it. And I'm thinking of social distancing, and I live on the Texas coast, and my favorite animals are dogs, but my second favorite animal would be the pelican. And I love watching pelicans fly, and I love watching them in formation. I thought there was a real life lesson here, Lauri, because pelicans practice social distancing. They don't have to fly with their beak up their buddy's butt. But on the other hand, nobody works in concert more beautifully than pelicans. I am drawing some real inspiration from them.
Yeah, and the efficiency of their flying V formation is also a good metaphor, right? Because like you said, they are not flying with their beaks up each other's butts, and the fact that they are spaced is what gives them their efficiency in their formation.
And increases their collective strength. So I've been trying to do little things to kind of stay normal here. My wife and I are fortunate that we live in kind of an open neighborhood where we can walk pretty much when we want to without endangering others. And of course, we take Frankie, the wonder dog, with us as well. I'm a big workout freak, although I will never set foot in a gym again, as I said. So we've got an elliptical at the house, and I've been trying to reduce that thing to dust. But also, I was able, through social media, to get in touch with a couple of neighbors who had some old rusty dumbbells that they were able to provide me, and we did the transaction in a very responsible way. We were closer than 50 feet to each other. There's a little resaca next to the house where I'm able to fish a little bit. Right now, they're not letting us fish in the surf, but the resaca thing kind of fills my fishing zones to a large degree. And then also with our neighbors, 3 times a day now, we have a next door neighbor, a wonderful guy, and he and I converse about 3 times a day. I'm in my driveway, he's up on his balcony. We are greatly separated, but I will tell you this, I'm just now wondering and discovering what a wonderful guy this neighbor is. I've always known him as a very nice person. Now I think of him as a really, really close friend. This has enhanced that communication. This has enhanced that relationship. And I hope, if nothing else, that other people are having that kind of experience with their neighbors around the country.
Well, I think it's happening because of what Dr. Ajayi said, not being able to, having very specific restrictions on how close we can get to somebody physically has really brought out our necessity to be close to other people emotionally. And I think or verbally, to engage in conversation, meaningful, in-depth conversation about what really matters. And that's probably something a lot of people have missed and didn't even realize it until they couldn't interface with people like they used to.
What we're trying to be is human. And one
Yeah.
of the greatest human connections we can make is art. And I know that Roy and I feel that for a variety of reasons, it's just in our soul to a very similar degree that music is the highest form of human art. And I'm going to say this, we're going to bring somebody on the show right now. He is way too modest to say this, so I will say it for him. This is the baddest guitar slinger in the state of Texas, Ruben V, who's got a unique perspective on this. He's one of these guys, he's been very fortunate to make a living gigging all the time because people love his music. He can't get enough. Now, obviously, that's very, very difficult. It's going to impose hardships on him. It's going to impose hardships on his large number of followers and devotees. So Ruben V, yes, the baddest guitar slinger in the state of Texas.
Listos para un cambio. Well, get ready. Change is coming. Well, get ready, yeah. Change is coming on you.
First of all, welcome, and how are you faring through this just freaky period in human history?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Well, it's, you know, I was listening to everybody speak, and yeah, it is a new world for us. I mean, I'm not a sit inside my house kind of guy 24/7, and it's completely thrown me out of whack. In a matter of 2 days after my last show, I had lost everything for the next 2-3 months, guaranteed. Over 40-something shows are gone, and as a musician, that is a lot of money. And so within 2 days, I got a job. A buddy offered me a job. He's like, I don't want to embarrass you or feel like I'm belittling you, but if you're serious about wanting to work, I got a job. So I'm now delivering medications for HEB because I had to find something. There's no entertainment whatsoever anymore. And I'm trying to figure that out now. It's a different thing. I do some stuff on social media every now and then, but I'm used to playing 5-6 nights a week. And right now, I get to play guitar maybe 20 minutes a day now. I don't even know if I know how anymore.
Ruben mentioned the fact that you're working for HEB, and of course we have a national and global audience. It's a very fine grocery chain here in Texas.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they were prescient in the sense that they actually anticipated this crisis to a greater extent than our own government did. But since you mentioned HEB, I want to ask you what kind of personal satisfaction you're getting, and I'll tell you why. We got this deal where you can send in electronically an order to HEB about 4 days in advance, and they will fill that grocery order for you. You go to the parking lot, a nice person comes out, they put the groceries in your truck. It's completely safe. There is social distancing. And I was there about 3 days ago, Ruben, and I will tell you, I had an experience that literally moved me to tears. Young man comes out, I'm guessing he's about 18 years old. He's got our groceries. So I'm in front, I'm in the driver's seat of the vehicle. I'm wearing a mask. He's wearing a mask. It's kind of an SUV. So we're separated by about 15 feet. I kind of mumble through my mask how much I appreciate this. And the kid, I couldn't see his mouth, but I could see his eyes, Ruben, and he lit up. And this young man goes into this very earnest and sincere soliloquy about how happy he is that he can help people. Exactly. Don't tell me that some good things aren't coming to this, because I was literally moved to tears.
That's exactly how it is every day for me. See, the company I work for is called Elevated Logistics, right? And they're hired from HEB to do this. And so every day I'm delivering just so many orders for people who don't want to leave. I've gone from some homes, people are wearing, hazmat uniforms. Some people walk up, tell me I don't believe any of this. It's just a big hype. Government's trying to keep us down. And I've seen all of it. But you're right. To see the love in some people when I show up, and some of the older folks, it's mostly older folks that are waiting for their medications. They want the human contact. They want to be able to converse with somebody because they've been in their house now for a month and can't leave. So when I walk up and knowing that every 5 minutes is crucial for me in this job because I got so many things to do, they just want to be able to say, hi, how are you? How's the weather? What's anything to feel like the new law for me is I have to drop it at your door. I can't come close to you. I have to leave it, come back to my car, and I wait from a distance and drive off. She was brokenhearted. She had me in tears waiting, running to my car to come say hi. So you're telling me I can't even, and I've cried so many times in this job, and I hate that grown man cries, but that's me. This job has mentally really just changed everything about the way I look at things. I've always been a lover of people and how to make them happy, but this has really humbled me in so many ways. All this has humbled me in more ways than ever imaginable. I mean, I don't know. I can't explain it because I'm out here every day. I'm out here every day. We work 6 days a week, take 8 to 10, 12-hour days. It doesn't end. So I see both sides. I see the people who are scared, and I see the people who couldn't care less. The parks are filled, streets are filled, kids are playing, and then you go to some houses and they're hazmat uniforms, and they're afraid to even touch the doorknob after I left.
Wow.
Ruben, I have to ask right now, in your capacity right now in helping people, have you encountered a stranger, or at least a stranger to you, and you're helping them, and all of a sudden they go, "You're Ruben V. You're the baddest guitar slinger in the state of Texas, and you're helping me. Oh, wow, I wish you could fire up on Voodoo Child right now, because next to Hendrix himself, or maybe not next to Hendrix himself, nobody does it like you." Does that happen?
Yes, it's happened several times.
Of course.
I will walk up to the door, they're like, oh my God, like, I don't know if they just assumed that I was this rich, famous guy with a house and I could just put my mask on and somebody would stay inside 24/7 like some of the fancy movie stars, but they don't understand that I have 2 kids and a mortgage like everybody else. And when you take away 45 shows, you take away 45 shows. And yeah, so they like, well, don't you just want to, like, why don't you just play? Or, you know, don't get me wrong. I'll be putting gas for the truck to deliver all day, you know, and a fan will walk up and say, hey, let me pay for your gas. Hey, let me pay for this. Don't worry about it, you know. And yeah, the love of human is really beautiful right now to watch these people look at me like, what is Ruben V doing? Why are you doing this? They don't understand. They must think I'm Keith Richards with enough money to just kick back and enjoy myself for the next 4 months and go on vacation. Because some people are treating it like a vacation, and maybe they should. Not everybody can afford a vacation. I can't afford a vacation. I'm a working musician. There's no way to, so I look at it 2 different ways. Everybody's getting to spend time with their family because that's gone. Now, my daughter and my son and I, every day and every night, hang out and do something because that's the new norm. You know what I'm saying? My wife was like, hey, you know, justice is waiting for you, or liberty's waiting for you. And those are my babies. And I know a lot of folks who don't even know their kids. So
Laura, you and Ruben go way back, so I'm sure you've got questions as well.
I'm sorry, wait, what, Paul?
I was just going to say, I know that you and Ruben go way back, so I know you've got questions.
Oh, well,
I'm ready.
I want to, yeah, Ruben and I used to be roommates way back. But he's always been Ruben V. And let me tell you one thing, you know, during your introduction, I didn't want to interrupt your beautiful introduction, but I will say that if you have not seen Ruben play, you have to, and you have to do it often. I'm guilty of not doing it often enough. Now that I'm in Austin, it just doesn't happen as much as I'd like. But Ruben is one of those artists, and you were talking about how much we need art and how much we need music. For me, there is no art above music. Music is more than an art. It's part of my DNA. It's in my blood. It's what beats my heart. It's what makes my neurons fire. There's nothing without music. And when you see Ruben play, he's one of those artists that you don't sit there and say, ooh, I want to be a guitar player. I want to be a rock star. You know, what you do is you want to be the best at what you are supposed to do. Watching him play and knowing Ruben, and he's so true to his art and his form and who he is, that he inspires you to be the best version of yourself that you could ever possibly imagine to be. And that's the important role that art plays, I think, is to find that creative spark in each of us. It's also individualized, but again, you see someone like Ruben play and it takes your breath away. It reminds you, wakes you up, and it excites you, and it brings people together. And Ruben, I have to say, the hardest part for you isn't that you had to get a real job. I mean, God, you've always been you've always busted your hump. Ever since I've known you, you've never been afraid of hard work, whatever that looks like, including your music. You gig 6 nights a week. I mean, you know, you're your own roadie. You do it all. And the hardest part for you has to be not being able to connect with your audience through your art, because it's through your music that you express yourself. So I feel for you missing that part too. I can't imagine how that must feel for you.
No, yeah, it's horrible. The only good time I get to see him is online. I'll do some stuff online and see the words and they hear the words come across and they just keep. Yeah, I'm all about the people. The only reason I try to make a career like Bruce Springsteen did, to where it's about the regular person.
Yeah.
The guy who buys your shirt, the guy who buys your CD, the guy who buys the ticket, Michael Jackson and Elvis, and never talk to them people, then it's too weird. I want to hang out with you. I want to go grab a burger.
Yeah.
And I want to sit with you and have a crowd and everything else that goes with it. I mean, so many people have been married from my shows that have been married 20 years that they've met at my shows. And I'm all about people. I'm a dog, but I'm just a little, I'm the pet now. But I miss that more than anything. I miss the conversations. So yeah, that's what's hard for me.
Our guest is Texas guitar legend Ruben V. And yeah, we're having a little trouble with our signal right now, but he has brought so much enjoyment to Texans and Americans and music lovers all over the world. And you've heard his commitment to his art. We want to be absolutely shameless about this. It's important that you be able to access the music of Ruben V. And he is, like so many Americans right now, it's really hard for him to make a living. And it's hard for some of us to find entertainment. So here's a situation where we can help each other. So Lauri Pearson, I know you know this. What is the easiest way and the easiest place that people can buy the incredible music of Ruben V?
I would say iTunes or his own website. And if you follow him on Facebook and or Instagram, he does a lot of Facebook Lives, does performances, takes requests, but don't ask him to play Brown Eyed Girl.
Yep.
When I say request, I mean his stuff. And you don't even, anyway, just follow him on Facebook, follow him on Instagram, go to his website, go to iTunes.
And go to RubenV.com.
RubenV.com. Download, listen,
Direct
connect.
to the source.
Yeah.
Again, we want to thank Texas guitar legend, and that is not an overstatement, Ruben V.
No.
And he's finding ways to help other people now, even while his own life and the lives of so many others are going through some adversity right now. We told you this was going to be a relentlessly optimistic and positive version of Radically Rational, and Ruben has brought so much to that end. We are, one, very, very appreciative, and two, can't wait to see you again in a live venue, brother, and that will happen soon, and you can count on me.
Yep.
Thank you, my brother. Love you guys very much.
Love you back.
Ruben,
You guys take care.
You too. All right, so the name of the show is Radically Rational, and the idea is it's time for simple sanity to be sexy again. And that means that we have to converse with each other in logical ways. So every week here on radical rational, we have a logical fallacy of the week. And this week, Lauri, it is the nirvana fallacy. And by the way, that is an actual formal term in communication circles, the nirvana fallacy. And that is the mistaken idea that any plan that's not perfect is unacceptable. And I see a lot of us suffering from the nirvana fallacy right now.
I would like to make a confession. That's one of my favorites. I use it all the time. If I've got a problem and I come to you with a problem and you give me a solution, I will more than likely shoot it down because I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, well, here's kind of the problem right now. Not only should we not let perfect get in the way of better, but we find ourselves in a unique set of circumstances here in that there is no perfect solution, and the idea that you're chasing one will drive you crazy. So the nirvana fallacy would be one to avoid right now for sure. And also, some of these people who are pursuing the nirvana fallacy, apparently they are part of the sheepstrich herd. Now we're going to reintroduce you to the sheepstrich. The sheepstrich is a cross between a sheep and an ostrich. And the reason this happened several decades ago on the Key Atoll, there was post-Cold War nuclear weapons testing going on, and it caused a mutation, and it gave rise to the sheepstrich. And of course, the front end of the animal, the sheep, will follow you anywhere, and then the ostrich has to bury its head somewhere, and it doesn't necessarily bury its head in the sand. It follows the sheep anywhere, including it coming full circle, if you get my drift.
Yes, full sphincter. Yes.
And speaking of natural phenomena and even mutations, look, we take this subject matter seriously. We do not take ourselves seriously. We cannot disclose her identity. We can't even safely tell you where she is for fear that it may cause social unrest. But welcome to the program, Smokin' Hot, Next Door Neighbor.
Step aside so I can see. Trouble is coming, you better get run, 'cause trouble's coming after me. Well, she's trouble, yeah. Can't deny she's trouble. Well, she's trouble, yeah.
So, Smokin' Hot, if I may be so familiar, how are you, and to what do we owe the privilege?
Hi guys, how the hell are you?
We're good. Are you hanging in?
Oh yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, so, you're one of the women that we know to have their proverbial stuff together in general. So how are you coping with the madness? What are you doing to keep from killing people? Because I know you control your temper very well, but you are a redhead and you're fiery about things. So what do you do to keep from having to kill people?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. Because we do know that if you're stuck in the house with me very long, I do tend to err to the side of killing. So I am outside a lot. Doing my grass. I have the most immaculate yard on the block. Actually, I think I have the most immaculate yard in the city because I have pulled weeds and mowed even when it didn't need mowing. So I'm doing lots outside.
Yes, and I'm sure your neighbors are very pleased about that because as I recall, last reported, you tend to mow your grass in cutoffs and rubber boots.
Cutoffs and a baseball cap. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I also washed the truck a couple of times last week, and
a couple of times.
You know what? I'm an old guy, so I am
gave them
flashing
something
back to that scene in Cool Hand Luke Oh, Lucy.
So awesome.
Oh, and Smokin' Hot next door neighbor talking about reverting to killing mode. You've been killing me for years.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I bet the guys across the street pull out their lawn chairs and watch this all happen. I bet they have no problem spending time isolated in their front yards watching you wash your truck and trim weeds and pull weeds and water flowers.
Yes, have to water the daisies.
Oh.
You know, I have a heart full of love. I just love people. And, you know, so I have been known to maybe lean over, you know, just to give them something, because bless their hearts, they're locked up, you know? So.
You are a compassionate woman.
Thank you.
Don't ever let it be said that you didn't think about your fellow man.
That's right. That's right.
But I will say this, when this episode is finally over, and it will be, and again, I want to emphasize, we're not ever making light of the situation.
No.
We're just not taking ourselves too seriously. We want to help you through this. So when we get through this episode, and we will, the Surgeon General is going to have to turn his attention to another subject, that being Smokin' Hot next door neighbor, because you may be hazardous to a lot of people's health as well.
Yeah, burning a hole in the ozone above her house too.
So it's not just the coronavirus that affects people's heart, you know.
Woo!
So, Smokin', again, if I may be so familiar,
Absolutely.
and call you Smokin', what is the social distancing now between you and your entourage of bodyguards? Has that been problematic at all?
And not too much, because I haven't really been able to go anywhere. So they pretty much just kind of camp out in the driveway in case I need to leave. Yeah, you know, that's how we're handling it right now.
Right.
Well, maybe later on we'll trot out some beat curl, you know, smoke on the water. But Smokin' next door neighbor, you are an absolute inspiration. And thank you for what you do to improve the attitude of the 8 billion people here on planet Earth. So again, we'll not divulge your location, but wherever it is, please stay safe. And we look forward to our next conversation with the vision that is Smokin' Hot next door neighbor.
You guys take care.
You too. Keep it clean.
Okay, so when we started this show, I mentioned the fact that Lauri had said a series of profound things this week.
You
And
say
I went,
that,
man,
Okay.
that's got me thinking here.
Okay.
And you said something to me yesterday. You know, we're all trying to do the best we can. We're trying to adhere to all these standards. We're really trying so hard not to mess up. We want to protect our own health, our family's health, the health of everybody. And you can do everything right and then wonder, oh man, what kind of situation am I in? Relate story about you in the empty elevator.
Listen. Yes. Okay. Right. You know, you think you're doing it all. And I'm a single mom, got to go out, got to go to HEB, got to do the things. I try and not have to go do the things, but somebody's got to do the things, and that's me. So I try and put all my protective gear on, and I do the best I can. But again, as we talked about earlier, you can drive yourself crazy. What did I touch with this hand? Did I spray the lever of the sprayer? Then you get to a point where you realize you have to do the best that you can, right? But you cannot relax your standards. You also said earlier, Paul, and this is to this point of the elevator story. You know, people go, oh, we can relax now. Oh, we don't have to wear our mask. Oh, it's all getting better. Oh, we're getting back to normal now. And it's the exact opposite. And the wake-up call for me was, I was still wearing my mask. No, I was going to the grocery store yesterday, and I have my mask on, and I live in a building with an elevator. And, you know, they won't let more than 2 people in an elevator at once. You have to wait for another elevator because that's 6 feet and apart. I got the elevator doors open, the elevator is empty. And it's really tempting to go, oh, I don't need to wear my mask. But I had it on, my hands were full, whatever. I walk into the elevator and I smelled smoke, cigarette smoke, not from a cigarette, but from someone who's a smoker's exhalation. You know how you can just smell, I don't mean their clothes.
Yeah,
I mean
sure.
the smoker's exhalation. It was still in the elevator, even though the elevator was empty. And I went, ding. You know how if you have gas in your home, they put odor in the gas because gas is odorless. And the only way you'll know if it's leaking is if you can smell it. I think if coronavirus had a scent, people would be a lot more willing to wear a mask. Oh, I smell it. Uh-oh, it's around. You know, because basically, if the coronavirus is remaining suspended in the air, as they're saying this particular strain of virus has an innate ability to do, more so than other coronaviruses, more so than other viruses in general, it can remain suspended in the air longer than other viruses, you know, through sneezing or coughing or even now possibly exhalation. If someone, now you know, an empty elevator doesn't mean that you're not exposing yourself to something, because someone's exhalation was in that elevator and I could smell it. And so back to your original point, you go, okay, wow, me wearing this mask does count because I'm reducing the viral load. If I'm exposed to it a little bit, it's better than exposed to it a lot of it, which is, you know, what we're seeing with so many healthcare workers coming down with the virus and unfortunately, you know, being hospitalized and even passing away from their overexposure of the virus, and their viral load is off the charts. So whatever you're doing is better than nothing. Always trying to aspire to doing a little bit more and staying a little bit cleaner obviously is best, but you can drive yourself nuts doing that too. So obviously the best thing to do is stay home. And if you can't stay home, put on your mask, put on your gloves. And just remember, the coronavirus does not have a scent. And if it did, you'd stay home a lot more, I think.
We only have a little time left, so we're not going to be able to explore this really fully. But I do want to talk about antibody testing. First of all, it's an amazing concept, and it can be so helpful to us from a medical standpoint. And we all hope that it's a successful process and that it protects a lot of Americans. But as we look down the road, and it's one of the things we try to do here on Radically Rational, this is going to pose absolutely unprecedented ethical questions in our country, because it's almost like you're going to have to walk around with a certificate that says that you have antibodies. It could almost, and again, we don't have a lot of time, it could almost cause a caste system here in the United States. Lots of moral and civil liberty questions here. Again, it's very promising from a medical standpoint, but this is part of the brave new world that we're going to be facing going forward.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to watch unfold.
We will have a brand new economy based on different things. In subsequent installments of Radically Rational, we're going to talk about the impact this could have on our upcoming elections in November. We're going to talk about problems involving the food supply and distribution, and now the United States military is involved, and I think that's a stroke of genius. So that's a subject we'll talk about a lot, because nobody is better at logistics than the United States military. You may think of sports as the toy department, but it's a key part of our national psyche. We're going to have a discussion about where we're going with sports and what could be possible going forward and what adjustments we're going to have to make. And just as we open this show with something brilliant from Lauri Pearson, we're going to end it the same way. One of my favorite LP quotes ever is, everybody says they're a fighter until it's time to fight. Folks, it is now time to lace them up.
Yep. Take the gloves off. Unwrap your hands. Mano a mano. Let's go. Let's do it. We're survivors. We got to do it.
Lauri, thank you so much. We promised you that we were going to try to give you a very uplifting edition of Radically Rational. It's Homosapiens Fights Back as a species. I heard a story this morning as we leave you, and I was very moved by it. It was a story from a hospital in the Northeast, and this hospital had taken up the practice of every time a coronavirus patient was successfully released from the hospital, they played Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. That's what we're here for, to help each other. There are other sunrises coming, and it's going to be brighter than ever. Lauri Pearson, thank you so much. Everybody who follows and supports Radically Rational,
we thank you because it's our strong belief that the only path out of this is to return to an honest, fact-based society. And that doesn't mean we have to be sorry at all, quite the contrary. But we have to have the courage to embrace facts that we don't like and the courage to jettison fallacies that appeal to us. So as we leave you, yeah, hear the Beatles and Here Comes the Sun. We'll see you again very soon on Radically Rational.